Good afternoon. This is Mark Zubarek with the topics of the town news for June 13th. Today is Friday the 13th, so we have to be very careful. Today is June 13th, 2025, and I am hosting the show, and I am the only participant for today. Time is getting to be precious for everyone. The summer's here, and everyone is involved with their own issues and their own families that they need to participate in these functions. So, Tony will not be here today, and Bill Kosowan will not be here today. So, but that's okay. I can handle this all by myself. Now, as you see behind me and here in front of me, we're getting ready for 4th of July. And Memorial Day just happened. And today I brought in a new flag with embroidered stars on it. What I'm looking for is from the audience, and especially my Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts that I attended their meeting, is I need to find out from them if they have a method of installing a new flag and how to hang it, how to take it down. And I would really appreciate that instruction because it is something that we all should be aware of. So, please, if you have time or if you have the energy to come up with a demonstration of how the flag should be hung and how it should be folded and disposed of, please contact me and I will gladly put you on. And it doesn't have to be live on the show. It can be filmed with a portable camera that I have, and we can have that established. So, thank you very much for joining me today. And the agenda and opinions are solely by the topics of the town host, our guests, contributors, and commentators. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands what this show is all about. It's all about commentary on what's going on in our community, our little community of Danvers. And our little community is not so little, it's 28,000 people, but we are spread out from all over the map here in town. And I want to make sure that we participate together. So, the subtitle for this episode is, again, I am continuing with the Select Board moved forward with a resolution to address the Beverly Airport issues. Outcome is a mellow resolution that the board approved, and I want to thank the board for approving at least what they thought was the thing to do. I don't think so, but we need to go one step at a time. And I want to thank Mr. Bennett and Ms. Bernard for following through on this resolution. However it's going to work, we'll see. My resolution, the one that I promised to write for them, was not totally accepted. Parts of it were. So, we are where we are, and I appreciate what they have done for us. However, we're going to pursue this matter all the way to court if it takes that much. The Beverly Airport is an imposition onto our quality of life. That's what it comes down to. Because I've reported this last week at least 3 or 4 of the business jets flying directly over my house. I don't know, I think they have a magnet or something, but they want to be known that they are flying low and they're flying loud, and they are definitely business jets. Private business jets are not what we have signed up for at Beverly Airport. So, we'll continue. I have my quote specifically for this issue in regard to the Beverly Airport and the town of Danvers residents, not necessarily the elected officials, because they have stepped back and they don't want to get involved, but they have to. I have a saying, no conflict can be resolved so long as all parties are convinced they are right. And both the airport commission, and the residents are convinced that they are right in regard to what's going on. Solution is possible only when at least one party begins to consider how he or she might be wrong. So I hope the Beverly Airport commissioners, where two of the commissioners are from Danvers, deserve to consider the quality of life of Danvers residents. We are direct abutters on the west side of the airport. Wenham is direct abutter to the west side of the airport. And we need to come together and stop this expansion that's going on. And we need to stop it before it gets built out again. So, I will come back to the airport again at a future time of today. We are at 57 minutes, and I think the clock stopped on me. So that's okay. I can continue for as long as we can on this program because it's going out live. Today's stories are still a repetition or engrossments of the town meeting that just happened. $150 million worth of our tax revenue, state support, and other revenues which are generated from the general public was voted on and approved in less than 20 minutes. Now, I sat through that. I'm always in the back of the room, and I have a program that I'm going to present to you of the town meeting, because my version is a little bit more personal. It focuses in and out on individuals speaking and the presentations that are being made. So I still have that in the can, and I will be presenting that probably next week. But it's just going to be a repeat. But the question I have is, the town meeting voted $150 million worth of our tax money in 20 minutes. And without question, in record time. And I just don't understand how this happens, because the town meeting members are not involved in what's going on. But they are the legislative body of this town. The legislative body spends all the money. And that's where the selectmen and their administrators in town hall believe that that's where the authority comes from. But that's where the town meeting is not very involved in what is really being spent and how the money is being spent. So, citizens' petitions took much longer, and were defeated because the proposals would shake up the establishment and the state mandates that are being proposed to us on various levels. The town meeting was efficient but dull. No significant discussion or debate except for the defeat of the zoning proposals that were made up of 3 citizens' petitions. Well, on Tuesday, May 27, the planning board was introduced into one of the future zoning developments at Essex and Elm Street, the Danvers Dental Office development. This was a planning board introduction of a new project that is really based on the zoning that was passed over the last 3 years. And it was supposed to accommodate every development that happens. But as you may know, or you may wonder, there were many, many claims of exclusions. We want to change this. We want to have more intense, zoning. They want 16 units instead of 11 that are permitted by the zoning that we just passed. And all of a sudden, the proposal is in front of the planning board, and the planning board doesn't really know what to do with it, except that we have a very excellent land lawyer that presented the case, and they want everything. They want the cake and eat it too. So what they want to do is put in 16 3-bedroom units over the dental office and over the parking lot across from DCAT. That's Essex and Elm Street. So what does our zoning really mean when these developers come on board and ask for all these exclusions and exceptions and privileges that they want because they cannot make that project work more than financially feasible? And all they want to do is make money. And that's how it is. So, again, following up this week's planning board meeting, the developer and his attorney withdrew. Well, they didn't withdraw. They delayed consideration until the 24th or the first week in July, because I think they heard that the development is over extensive, and it is in the wrong location, and housing of 3-bedroom units is not something that Danvers needs downtown. The cry of the Maple Square development was, we need 1- and 2-bedroom units so we can get our elderly off from single-family homes in town and put them away in a complex that has 147 units. They can walk to everything. They can do whatever they want downtown. Well, we need to consider the elderly, because I think we're all coming to that age. But we need to get the right proportions of the right number of units and number of bedrooms for the right location. The Danvers Square, the Danvers Town Hall location is not a place for 3-bedroom units. So maybe Nancy has finally realized that there's going to be objection to this, and hopefully that pursuit is happening. Now, brief discussion that I have here is many issues with density, congestion, and parking have been identified as a result of what's going on with Maple Square. Now we're putting another dense with great congestion and parking. They want parking to be available on the street for that apartment building. So we need a parking garage for downtown. And that is really a possibility that may have to be considered. And I've mentioned this on the show 2 weeks ago, and I am going to mention it again because there's been so much complaint about the parking and the number of vehicles that are permitted for each and every one of our apartments, is that, if you look at the Hobart and Cherry Fish Market parking lot and the church adjacent to the church parking lot, that may be the solution to many of our problems down in the Maple Square and downtown area, because that's where possibly a 3-story garage right in front of the fish market and right in front of the rail trail and right in front of the church parking lot would accommodate many of the vehicles that are being planned for Maple Street, High Street, and the downtown area. Now, Danvers Hardware is gone away, and there's going to be apartments there. The Cakes for All Occasions, that's gone. That's going to be apartments. Now, Murphy's Fruit Market, as you all remember, that is going to be developed. And that one has a parking lot right across the street. And we, in the past, when Murphy's Fruit Market was there, designated that as a Murphy's Fruit Market parking lot and Lions parking lot. So there are spaces, but this one at Maple Square deserves consideration because that's where a parking garage should be built and not where the Maple Square building is currently, because that was the consideration at one time. So hopefully people will realize in town that we do have an opportunity to develop that parking lot, which currently has 101 spaces, I believe. And if you multiply it by 2 or 3 stories, that'll be 400 parking spaces. Let's say 350 parking spaces on 3 levels. And that would serve the area of downtown. That's where every employee can go and park there and then walk from there to their employment. So, but that's just a suggestion, and it is my opinion and solely by the topics of the town news. So take it for what it's worth. I think it may have to be considered. Electronic clickers are again on the agenda by people that have been sort of not considered during the voting at town meeting, because voice votes are only heard by the moderator and not by anyone else, because they're being considered for the purpose that that article was meant to be. So every article has always been a positive vote. So that's how it's heard. That's how it's recorded. So the town meeting members appear to be receptive, and some future action may be introduced to the select board to finally acquire the inexpensive system. It is probably $10,000 to $12,000 or $15,000, even that. And that is used for the next, 20 years. First must be accepted by the moderator and the Board of Selectmen. And the Board of Selectmen have the authority to select that and implement it as a voting method at town meeting. And it can be an option or it can be a standard, and then voice vote can be an option if that's what the town meeting wants. This may relieve the questions at the voice voting and hearing of voice votes. Hearing is the important part. So, let's move on. I think that's the end of the town meeting votes. I believe that the proponents or the citizens' petitions that have been supplied to the town moderator and voted down need to be considered by the planning board. The planning board needs to address that issue because that is something that needs to be reviewed, and how appropriate is the current zoning that has been implemented. Okay, next issue that I have looked at, and I am looking at my phone here, and it's an alert. That's good. Larkin Cottage at the Essex Technical School has been completed, has been presented to the neighborhood, and has been visited by many of the Board of Selectmen and Selectwomen to review what the status is. They proposed a liquor license, which was much objected to, but it is allowable according to law. But at this stage, after the presentation to the Board of Selectmen and the indictment of their actions, they have decided to withdraw it. However, they have requested an entertainment license, which would be more for a function for a wedding or something like that, that may not have a liquor license, but may have the customer may file for a liquor license, a one-day liquor license. So the Larkin license and entertainment license was approved after a vigorous debate by the Board of Selectmen. I don't know what they're uptight about, but they did it. Thank you very much. It was not expected because there was a lot of objection from some of the neighbors. Not necessarily all, but some. So the Larkin license, liquor license was withdrawn, and the entertainment license was permitted by the Board of Selectmen. And they're going to keep an eye on it, see how it evolves, and functions that are being held there may be licensed as well in the future. Next item that I wanted to talk about is town manager expectations. The town manager was supposedly on board May 12th. Meet and greet was only for town hall employees. What about the public? The sad and surprising part, and I'm speaking for myself, is that the town manager, the hired town manager, an employee of this town, was not even introduced as such at the last or the previous 4 weeks ago to the general public and provided an opportunity to meet and greet the town manager. Now, as I have always said all along, is the town manager is not an elected position in this town. It is a strong position, has a lot of authority, but the authority lies in the administration and operation of the town government, not to the town functions, not the elected selectmen's authority on setting policies. So the one thing that I have stressed, and I'm going to be crucified for it, is that we all look towards the town manager to resolve the issues that we have on our table. Well, the resolution of these issues are not the town manager's responsibility. They are the function and responsibility of the Board of Selectmen. They set the policies and they set the town manager on the direction that they want this town to go forward. And I think that's the one thing that we are seriously debating, I think, in the Town Charter Review and the Town Manager Act Review, because that has not come through yet or has not been finalized as a report. And as late as yesterday, I had an email from Sally Calhoun, and she is still reviewing the minutes of the May 14th meeting. That's when the report, preliminary report, was to be ready to be submitted to the Board of Selectmen. Now, the Selectmen have a serious job in evaluating that 1-year process that took place where Sally and the selected group of town meeting members were reviewing line item by line item, period by period, of every single word on the 2 acts that we function under. So I'm looking forward to getting that back from Sally, because as you know, I have been a proponent of this review for years, and finally it came through, but I am just wondering how extensive this is going to be. One of the issues that I have brought to the table is that we need to have the Board of Selectmen step up and represent the people that have put them in their place and represent the issues that people bring to them instead of delegating everything to the town manager. That's not how a political government should be functioning. This is not a town manager dictate from the White House. It is from the Board of Selectmen. Town charter, town manager review and evaluation of the type of government we want or we need is a very important function that Sally Calhoun and her committee are performing for us. No official submittal as of this date. So the things that I wanted to see, and I've dug up a lot of information from other towns, and other communities that have gone through such a process. I'm running out of water, so maybe I'm talking too much, but that's okay. One of the things that I wanted to get across, and I think the Board of Selectmen finally agreed to have Article 7 for the town moderator to appoint a committee to conduct this review. Town moderator appointed the town meeting members at this committee to perform this task. Instruction to the committee are general, intentionally, but not to lead the results in any specific path, but to provide an independent response with direct recommendations. The committee must first understand, and that is a very, very serious word, to understand and digest the current town charter and the associated bylaw currently on the books. The committee must then determine why and how we go to the current state of affairs, how we got to this current state of affairs. There is no limitation to the recommendations resulting from the review and evaluation. What are the issues that drove us to this evaluation? I just want to pick out a few. Strong Town Manager Act, limited policy direction from or by the Select Board. Select Board not providing direction, leadership to the town manager who is appointed and not elected. Select Board elected but lack policy direction from the voters. Why do we even have select boards? That was a statement that I made, 3 years ago. And one of the responses was from the Board of Selectmen is, what, do you want the selectmen to have more power? Of course you do. You want to represent the individuals, the residents, the 28,000 residents that are living in this town. You have been selected to give direction to where this town is going. And one of the faults that has happened is we have all kinds of committees that are looking at things, and none of them are really comprehensive to represent the entire town. Weak Select Board. This was my statement at that time. Current status does not reflect the will of the voters because the Select Board delegates all responsibility for delivery of services, policies with direct impact to residents. The board also relies on the town manager for policy and political direction because it is safe for our elected officials to leave all the management to the town manager. Now that is really an absurd way to approach leadership of this town. They need to step up and give some direction to where this town is going. The town manager controls too many committee appointments. That was one of the issues that was brought up to Sally Calhoun's committee. The candidates may not reflect the voters of this community. Current practice of appointments are solely based on volunteers and availability. Town culture of the town and knowledge of the community is lacking. The town manager comes in fresh from a different community, did not understand what was going on in the town of Danvers or how we arrived at this status, and we are asking the town manager to do the dirty work for the selectmen. Some committees have outgrown their existence and have been stagnant for 20 years without reflection of the changes of the makeup of our community cannot have the same members for such a long period of time. How new blood gives vibrancy to our communities. Team limits our committee members should be instituted to have elected positions on some strategic committees. Elected committees may be Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Board, Finance, and others. These may be partially elected and the minority appointed. There's been a outcry from the established committees that we need people that know what to do on these committees. Well, these committees are doing what they have been instructed to do 20 years ago, and they continue that. They do not reflect the current makeup of this town. Town manager is responsible for department organization, structure, and the appointment of department leadership, but must have confirmation on consultation by the Board of Selectmen. And let me just continue this because this has been an old issue. Consultation of the Select Board. Outside hired manager does not have the historic structures of any unique town. So the knowledge and the baseline of what this town is all about, and I'm not claiming to be a townie or anything like that, but I have been involved in many of the functions that are going on through the committees, through the voted into the elected positions, and to the appointed positions. Town manager residency requirement should stay, but may apply 1 year after being hired. This will permit acclimation into the community and build in integration of the community. So these are some of the things that have been happening to us, and we are sitting back and not responding. So the Town Charter Review Committee has been very active. I've attended many of the meetings, but I've also viewed many of the meetings because it is on cable. And I have accumulated the minutes of every single meeting. And I intend to at least present my positions because this has been an issue that I've been familiar with for many years. Their town meeting is one of the issues that was discussed in the beginning. Town meeting has lost the effectiveness of being informed and is lacking focus on participation. Town meeting does function well only if the entire body is engaged and reflects the precinct's objectives. The size and distribution of members is dictated by statute after the 10-year census. There was much discussion in regard to the opinion of many of the residents that town meeting members walk into the auditorium and unclip their envelope and look in for the first time and vote on every action positive. So we need to entice and somehow challenge the town meeting members to do their representative legislative activities for the precincts that they have been elected in. I don't know if there are any or very few town meeting members that are contacted by residents to represent their position on the town meeting floor. Very few people know who their town meeting members are. And the thing about town meeting elections is that if you're an incumbent, you're a shoo-in. And I've proved that wrong because I have decided not to run anymore because it does not serve well to the precinct, because we need new blood and new views, and I appreciate that. Finance Committee. Finance Committee is very selected by the town moderator. So you know what the Finance Committee is going to review, and they review every single item on the agenda, on the warrants. However, one of the things that has been lacking is that the Finance Committee doesn't ask the questions of where the money is coming from to fund these projects, or whether the money is coming from to fund the operations of these projects. And I have stated this in the past, and I'll say it again, we have too much money floating around. And that's why nobody's asking the question of where the money's coming from. This past year, this July 1, we declared $13.4 million of free cash. Now, free cash is a misnomer, and that misnomer is that it's excessive collection of real estate taxes because the budgets are overinflated to attain the largest amount of tax revenue from your pocket and my pocket, because that's the policy that has been established by the town selectmen, and they have continued that effort since probably 2004, 2005. Now, that is unusual, but it is something that is happening. And the thing is, again, I'll state my opinion, we have too much money floating around. There are pet projects that are being discussed. There are pet operations that are coming, and we do not have everything in place. So, Finance Committee is another committee that should maybe either be appointed by the town moderator, but that's how it is right now, but it may be a split between the Board of Selectmen and the town moderator, and it should be non-town meeting members. And they should be selected by the boards, the different individuals, because of their function, and not just being there because they have been there before. Now, I spent 10 years on the Finance Committee myself, and I spent probably 25 years on town meeting. But the thing is, that's when you have to let go and let other people fill in. There are other opinions. There are other functions that can be identified by fresh individuals that have not been jaded by the political process in our town. Finance Committee needs to be refined. Budget Conference Committee. That is, well, my opinion, that is a joke. That is a function of probably 30 people that have been either appointed, elected, or town employees that determine the roles of our community, of how we're going to be funding things. And in my opinion, that should be abandoned because it does not serve the purpose that it was originally intended. Originally, it was intended to have the Board of Selectmen, School Committee, and the town moderator, I believe, to refine a budget problem that was being discussed. And this is, again, an abdication of the responsibilities of the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen deserves to get chastised for that. They need to step up and lead this town. Town meeting attendance. We did a study on the attendance of the town meeting members, and they are very flagrant absences that continue, and they need to be reformed. If you cannot attend maybe 2 town meetings a year and represent your precinct with proper references to the residents, then you shouldn't be on town meeting. You should voluntarily step down and let somebody else pick up the ball and go with it. Again, electronic vote counting, that's something that would also include attendance at the meetings, and you would have a direct confirmation of their attendance. Town accountant. Town accountant is the only position, according to our town charter and town manager act, that is not hired or appointed by the town manager. There is a zoning committee that is appointed by the Board of Selectmen. But the town accountant is the only responsible person that the residents and the Board of Selectmen can refer to account for every penny that is being spent in this town. We have changed that organization. We have placed a finance director in place, but we should also keep the town accountant, because the town accountant is our only reference to the budget when it is being spent. Recall petition is another one that has been, I believe, adopted. I have not seen that in place. It's a very responsible function of our government, because if there is a recall, then there's a serious problem. Town clerk's office. That is a very responsible position, and I don't know. I identified it here as who is the appointing authority? What are the serious responsibilities and functions of a well-run town record keeper and voting? And we have a good town clerk. However, we need to make sure that the appointment is not at the town manager's whim. It should be a function that the town Board of Selectmen use wisely. Electronic voting, we already talked about. Consultation with former. One of the things that Sally did this year, she selected the former Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee members, and have them come and deliberate with the committee of how these things are to be done in this town, or how they have been done in this town, and what issues have come up. So that's another thing that we formally did that review, but I'm just wondering what the results are. General housekeeping, I don't care. Determine how and when the town charter or the town manager documents are same and would be combined to have one Danvers Town Constitution. Town charter. Why do we have a Town Manager Act? The town only needs to have one town charter. That's another thing that I don't know if they've considered that. But those two documents are pretty much the same. Why do we have two? All we need is a town charter. The one thing that they have also considered, and I don't know what the final verdict is, determine how often and when these documents shall be reviewed and evaluated. And I suggested every 5 years. I don't know if that's appropriate, but that's how I feel. We need to get more general residents' involvement in this. So, we have the issues of the town charter coming up, and that's going to be a very active function because they want to get this thing mobilized into the review process, and warrant articles would have to be prepared and bylaws changed. So that's one thing. The one thing that I would like to bring up, and we only have 6 minutes. Boy, this time is flying by. Essex Tech we already talked about, but I believe that the misfortune of the lottery system that the state has imposed on the technical schools is very inappropriate. We should expand the technical schools instead of trying to limit the number of students that go there. This is a special issue, and we'll be talking about that more and more in the future. So, Beverly Airport update. Beverly Airport, as you know, the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, I have to be criticized for this, Select Board, has determined that the resolution that was presented the first time without my comments is what they have signed and sent out to the appropriate parties. I have not seen it yet. I have not received a copy, and I don't know where it went. So I'm going to do some search and destroy missions on Monday to find out exactly how far this document has gone and what effect it's going to have. Because on Monday, we have the airport commissioners meeting again. Now, just for your information, as far as I know right now, the hangar expansion, or the gigantic hangar that's being proposed, has gone through the various boards in the town of Danvers because it's on the west side. However, the building permit has not been requested yet, and I intend to object to that building permit because that hangar is oversized, and it is an indication of things to come. The other item that is on the west side of the airport is the two 10,000-gallon fuel tanks, jet fuel tanks, that are currently embedded in a dirt pit and they have no containment. No, if it spills right into our drinking water. And the thing is that permit, according to the Board of Selectmen in their wisdom, they have renewed it. Well, we do not get any tax money out of it. We do not get any credit for it being located on the west side. We have no containment underneath it. And this was an issue that was discussed 20 years ago when the tanks were built, and that's where they dispense the fuel to the jets on the runways. Now, they have a potential for spills, and they have already a plume that is on the Beverly side of the airport from a fuel station at that location as well. So we need to get the attention of our fire department to prevent any spillage that has happened to date or may happen in the future. So we are not on the agenda of the airport commissioners meeting because they do not care about the Danvers residents. So what I'm going to do is, I have not decided on whether I'm going to attend it or not, but I think somebody will be attending, and we're going to have the citizens' comments in the beginning, but none of the comments over the last year have been addressed or even acknowledged by the airport commissioners, Beverly Airport commissioners. One of the things that we need to do is explore a negotiated process where we need 4 of the 9 commissioners to be from Danvers, because we have such a significant amount of land dedicated to the airport on the west side in Danvers. So I hope to see everyone at the airport, and maybe we can present another citizens petition to the airport commissioners. And I want to just review this, and we will have one more show in June, and then we're probably going to take a break for July and August. So thank you very much for being with me, and I appreciate your time and effort of listening to our comments. Thank you.